Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Real Life Love. I am once again taking you behind the scenes, pulling a page from my own dating life. This one is kind of fresh and hot off the press from a date that I was on last night. So I'm going to kind of walk you through it and spotlight a couple of specific things about it because part of what I'm going to be speaking to is something that I hear a lot from my clients and also has come up a fair amount in my own dating adventure. So last night, this gentleman and I sat down together, and we're new to each other, so we don't really know hardly anything about each other. And we very quickly fell into a conversation about a topic that is something that's very interesting to me. He does some environmental legal work. He's a lawyer. And I had just asked him something about a case that I had followed because it was a case that happened in my county and it was of interest to me and it was something that I had followed. And he had a whole lot of information about it. He had actually worked on it. So we were in this conversation and I was feeling pretty engaged and I was interested. And then at a certain point, maybe 20 minutes in, I noticed that I really wasn't that interested anymore, partly because it felt like the conversation wasn't personal at all. We were talking kind of about a current event topic, but we weren't really talking about anything that was more personal to us. And here's what I noticed. First, I started kind of spacing out a bit and looking around and looking at the other people in the restaurant and maybe kind of hoping that he would get the signal because if you're tracking somebody well, and I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming scope because it's really important to be able to notice nonverbal cues. That's what's called tracking, and then to adjust accordingly based on that information. So he wasn't tracking particularly well, and I was noticing that I was feeling bored and I was disinterested. So I let it go a couple more minutes and then I just looked at him and, very kindly, without an edge in my voice or a charge in my tone, I just said, "Hey, how about if we switch topics?" And I just kind of said it lightly and he looked at me like, "Yeah, let's do that." And I think at that point he realized that he had been on that subject for quite a while and he even remembered that one of the rules that he had and his former wife had was that they called it the 60-second rule. He was allowed to talk about cases that he was working on for up to 60 seconds because he would get very passionate and very excited and could just go on, and it wasn't necessarily what she wanted to hear about or talk about. So he was actually very relieved that I had spoken up and just made an invitation to shift directions and shift our attention. And he was like, "Oh yeah, let's do that." So here's what I want to spotlight here, because one of the things I've certainly noticed, and it's probably one of the biggest turnoffs to me when I'm out on a date with somebody, is men can talk, and I hear from men that women can also go on and on and on. And we want to be noticing, how engaged is the person we're having a conversation with? And am I monopolizing or sharing the conversation? Am I equally interested in their input and asking them questions as I am just about talking? So one of my kind of pet peeves is when somebody just goes on for a long time and I don't feel that included in the conversation. And what I know is sometimes men will do that if they're nervous. So it's not necessarily because they're a conversation hog. It's more like it's a strategy to manage some anxiety or distress. So I've gotten kind of bolder in ways that I can address it that feel light, but also honest. And rather than just deciding or concluding, "Oh, this guy's a whatever and I'm not interested," kind of giving a little bit more space and potential to the conversation and coming forward with another idea or a request. So in this case, like I said, it was very simple. "Hey, how about if we change the topic?" And we went on from there. So my point that I want to make in this is that, sometimes even couples who really know each other well, maybe you're on your 50th or your 100th or your 500th date, what's really important is that the conversation is leading to connection and that both of you are feeling present and feeling connected. And what I said to him later in the evening, he actually really thanked me for that intervention. He said that he really liked the way that I did it and he was happy that I did do it. And I said to him, if I had just let you talk, neither one of us would have been getting what we were wanting. You were wanting to have my attention and have me be present, which I wasn't really able to fully give you because I was feeling bored. And I was wanting to feel more engaged in the conversation. So rather than just kind of go on what might be considered like the social code, which is nobody says anything, but at least one person is distracted or uninterested or no longer present. I mean, I see this all the time when I just will observe couples at restaurant, you know. Sometimes one of them is like completely checked out, but they think they're doing the other person a favor by pretending to listen. I am not really a big fan of pretending because ultimately we get found out, and I think people for the most part are sensitive enough to know, to be able to feel the quality of the attention, quality of my attention that I'm offering. So the good news is that it saved me from having to kind of sit through something that I really wasn't that drawn to anymore, and we went on and we had some really interesting conversation about a whole number of topics. So feel free to give this a try, or maybe it will just spark some creativity for you. Maybe you won't do it the way that I did it, but it might give you some permission that you really don't have to abide by any social code of communication unless it's one that you feel like is really serving the conversation and the connection and the process of deepening and growing intimacy and understanding and connection. So try it out. Let me know how it goes, and please leave your comments and your discoveries and your questions here in the comments. Talk to you soon. Bye.